Hello, my name is Dr. Neil Hopkin and I'm the principal of Sunmark School. So I want to speak to you today about the secrets to help your child catch the reading bug. And right at the beginning, it's about learning to teach from the heart. And the heart in this particular case is your passion for reading and for books generally. Now, there are many ways of actually killing passion, and so we can often find when we're talking with children, does that make sense, that particular word there? How would you pronounce that? What are you going to do around this particular word? All of those are questions which very quickly overwhelm the child. But actually teaching reading really well is not rocket science. It's something that we can all do as parents. So the key for us is to actually then understand the difference between the technicality of teaching reading and the passion of teaching reading. Now, there are various different aspects of how a child might encounter text, either through print awareness or an understanding of phonics or even a fluency. Their vocabulary, of course, is very important. But the key for us is to understand that reading exists as part of a continuum. And the continuum goes from speech to reading and then to writing. As a child grows up, what they're developing, of course, is a sense of listening to words that are spoken to them, and eventually they're able to articulate some of those words. In articulating those words, what we find is that they're exploring their ability to express their feelings and to express what they're seeing in the environment around them. Moving on from there is a conceptual step to understanding that a printed word that they're going to read is also articulating an understanding of the world. And so that's a huge step for a child to make. So one of the first steps to support your child's great reading is to make sure that you're supporting their great speaking, that you are making sure that they're exposed to a broad vocabulary, that you don't use childish or babyish words, but you use real words, so that they're able to hear them and start to make sense of how they're used in context. That makes it so much easier for when a child actually eventually comes to read themselves. Of course, beyond reading, what the child then does is create text. And so they learn to write particular words to create particular images that they want people to understand. Now, when you're teaching your child to read, one of the important things is to get pronunciation right. And many of us get that wrong. So for instance, if we were going to say the word hat, and we were to see that word written down, so we're reading it, then the first letter of hat is h, not h. You don't hear h, at, in the word hat. What you hear is h. And we don't hear t, but t. And so learning how just to segment the sounds that you hear in a word into the actual sounds that are there, not the one that you imagine is there, is really important in helping your child. Another important feature is the use of the finger. And so by scrolling the finger underneath the word as it appears in a book, that helps the child understand how to read it. Let me give you an example. So for instance, if we're reading the word cat, then we would use our finger for each sound that we hear. K, a, t, cat. And then we use our finger to underline the whole word to show that we're reading the whole word. Equally, perhaps we're reading the word ship. And so in that particular case, what we would do is say sh, ship. And that enables the child to see how we're breaking the sounds up that are in that word. Now, there are some words that it's very difficult to break down. So for instance, there or because or to, as in the number. Imagine the word to, T-W-O. Very, very difficult for a child to actually break that down and make sense of how to read that. These words are sight vocabulary. They're words that need just to be learnt on sight because they're phonically irregular. They can't be broken down in the way that we would like. Now, all of those are technical skills, but actually for you as a parent, there's something that's very much more important to learn. How do you turn your child into someone that loves reading rather than someone that hates it? Well, one of the first things you can do is to make sure that you're exposing the child to books really early on. It doesn't matter how young they are, let them see that you enjoy sharing a book with them. And then, of course, as they get a little bit older, start to engage in imaginative reading play with them around what's there. Notice that there are lots of different words in the environment around them. So whether it's a shop sign or a menu in a restaurant, they're all things that can be explored. And make sure that wherever you go, whether you're going to the shopping mall or you're going for a walk in the local environment, take a book or something that you can read with your child so you can sit down, have a rest and read. There are also some things that you mustn't do. If you're a parent, it's really important that you don't pretend to listen. Please don't sit there on your phone or device whilst your child reads to you. Be there with them in that time, and also make sure that you're not being a poor role model. So if you want your child to love reading, you have to love reading. If you want them to love books, you have to love books. So establish a reading tradition in your home. Make sure there's a comfy space, whether that's a beanbag or under the stairs or just a special rug that you go and sit on all together. Make sure that you're enjoying that, and read for pleasure. So don't be afraid to laugh out loud or to pull a bed sheet or a blanket over you and have a torch and be reading in the dark, all excited about that book about magic that they're reading. Don't be afraid to have more than one book on the go with your child. I recommend having 4 books on the go, so as a child's interests wane, you can actually move on to different texts that you're going to read, and always read together. However old your child is, enjoy that reading together, whether at first you start on sharing word by word or line by line or page by page in the book, or ultimately as they get older, perhaps you're just both in the same room reading together to show that you love reading and you're sharing that reading with them. Whatever you do, let your passion for reading bubble over and be unmissable by your child. And that is the greatest gift you can give them to catch the reading bug. Good luck. For more educational videos, please subscribe, and please do feel free to leave comments below. Thank you very much for listening.